Greetings, I'm Reverend John O'Toole. Me and my cat Zimba would like to welcome you on another FaerySpeak tarot card reading. Now I've had a brief hiatus since my last one. I think it's been like a year. There's been a lot of challenges in my life in the last year or so, and I haven't been properly motivated to create another FaerySpeak. Lately, some certain energies have been kicking my butt saying, hey, let's try doing some new shows. So we are going to try to do some new shows. And, of course, since it's me, of course, I'm recording this in the wee hours. What better time? It's actually daylight savings time, which, changes my thought process a little bit. But the lighting is better because I don't have to deal with exterior lighting so much. So I have a new setup here, as you can see. Instead of shooting it on a green screen, I have a different kind of setup. Similar kind of cameras. I have a camera overhead for the table, and then I have, of course, recently trimmed his beard, and I have a camera for the cards. And I also have a couple of crystals. I have a crystal skull. It is a quartz crystal skull. It's about the size of a softball, maybe a little bigger. I would love a full-size one. When I was in Peru at Machu Picchu, they had a full-size quartz crystal that was about $500. So let's not pick from the top. We're going to pick from here. We're going to pick here. We're going to pick. Actually, we're going to pick one from the top. And we're going to pick one from the bottom. And that's 4. Now let's see how we line up with our cameras. And that's how we're going to decide what we're going to do. And we're going to try for another one. And that's 5. Let's start with 5. We are going to start here for some reason. Well, look at that. Now, when you order the Fairy Oracle book and card, I'd show you the book, but it's holding up. It's actually under one of my cameras to get the angle just right. One of the first steps is that you need to draw your own fairy. So maybe this is an appropriate card to pull as our first card for the first of the, not the first of the series. I think this is going to be episode number 23, if I remember correctly. So, you ready for this? The first card we're going to draw is a picture of your fairy. Are you ready? Have you met your fairy yet? Now, actually, before I show you a picture of your fairy, I wish to explain. Everybody has a fairy. Not everybody can see their fairy. Not everybody even has an interest to connect to their fairy. And it's just what you wish to do. You remember that movie, the Genesa Crystal? It had that kidder lady, or kid, I was going to say Marlo Kid, trying to think of her name, but at any rate, it was the Genesa Crystal, whereas everybody had a creature that was considered their creature, and they were, emotionally and metaphysically tied to those creatures. But the difference was that everybody could see each other's creatures. Now the fairy realm isn't so obviously seen. They basically maintain the world, the energetic of the world. They also assist with nature, the interactions with nature, the trees and the flowers and the bees and the birds and the things and the moon up above. So everybody has a fairy. Some fairies are elusive, some fairies are obvious. Sometimes they're looking you in the face, and everybody has a fairy, and it's whether or not people wish to engage in them or not. Most of the time, they were with them when they were a child, as a childhood friend, an imaginary friend as they called it, but they're very much real. And they could be, it could have been a pig, it could have been one of your stuffed animals, or a doll, or could have been someone that you just talked to a lot, and people thought, well, that's an imaginary friend, he's going to grow out of it, that kind of thing. So that's usually where the energy comes in, and then we put form on it. So we have Simba. He is sitting on the edge of the table. And we have Kitty, because that's what I call her, is Kitty. She is sitting in the tub in which her water dish is in. She's not in the water dish. She is just sitting in the tub. Because apparently there's no boxes for her. So among all my fairies that are here joining us today, one of them is Harry. And also I have the cats. So everybody has their fairy, and it's up to you to determine whether or not you wish to connect with them. And they could be anything, or they could just be energy. I usually see most fairies as energy. And then if I have to, usually because someone asks, they want to have an idea about what their fairy looks like, then I'll have to kind of think about it. Also, there are a lot of different fairies that have specific names. Like fairy is referring to the species, kind of like a dog has many different types of dogs. Cats have many different names also. Fairy is kind of the special thing. Male, female, all that stuff, or not male, female, all that stuff. Because there really isn't much with gender in the fairy realm. So how they actually appear is totally up to you. My fairy looks like, well, I describe him as hairy feet. He kind of looks like Cousin It on the Addams Family, so to speak. He's about 4 feet tall, but most of his hair is actually on his legs and feet. It's actually kind of interesting when you think about it, since I have legs and feet issues. And so if you were to buy the Fairy Oracle, one of the first things you do is that you would draw your fairy on a card. You don't have to do that. You can certainly just do it in your mind's eye, but you do have that opportunity. So, I would like to show you a picture of your fairy for you. Are you ready? Some people aren't ready. Some people will ask me to identify their fairy, and then when I go to do that with them, they appear to be not too much afraid. They might be a little afraid, you know. They're not. Fairies aren't like ghosts, you know, spirits that haven't moved into the light, that are kind of stuck in between lines. Those are completely different angel energies, you know. Fairies are just, you know, it's a natural, organic part of Gaia that interact between all creatures, big and small. Nothing to be afraid of. You know, they're going to be there when we're here, and they're going to be here when we're gone. This, you know. So, are you ready? Apparently, Simba's not ready to meet his fairy because he just left the room. As a matter of fact, they both left the room. I don't know. We start talking about fairies and they leave. So, for the first card, I'm going to show you a picture of your fairy. Are you ready? All right. Here it is. There you go. In your mind's eye, this is a picture of your fairy. What do you think? Can you picture him? Never know. I recently told somebody that their fairy had red curly hair. That's all I could. Actually, it seems like the hair is kind of what I tend to remember. The other person had hair that was both golden yellow and also, I think it was like brown. Different parts of the body. Have you pictured your fairy? Let me just put the card up. And you can, there you go, right next to the crystal skull. Wow, so that's our card number 1. Now perhaps this is very suiting that the first card that we pull is identifying your fairy energy. If you have an interest in fairy realm and you identify with the fairies, and if you go for walks in nature and you feel like you're surrounded by fairies, this is actually simply an important step to connect to that fairy. By connecting to that fairy, you also tend to connect to other fairy energies. Some people can see fairies over here. So if you're looking at a tree over here, you might see the movements of fairies. Now, looking at their peripherals is another way of just seeing them in your mind's eye, but you know, you need opening up your mind's eye, you're opening up the peripherals. It's just a different perspective. And sometimes when people are kind of in an illusion state, you might see them over here, but then when you look straight on, like there are some aliens from outer space that come and visit us, and they're wearing a human suit, and you can't tell that they're from up there, but when you see them over here, you'll see that their imagery has changed. And then you'll go and turn and look at them. There's that movie. You know, I just found it on Amazon. Now I can't think of the name of it. The one when you wear the certain glasses, you can actually see what they look like. So, I hope that you were able to identify your fairy today. That would be very exciting. Congratulations. Or perhaps you already knew, and it's just confirmed what you already knew. So let's pull another card while we still have time, because some guy here, he likes to talk too much. I'm going for the card on the end. Now this is a very pretty card. This card here is the Singer of Connection. Wow! We're talking about connecting with your fairy energy, and I bring up the Singer of Connection. This is a very pretty card. The Singer of Connection. Spiritual connection, karma balance, empathy. Well, that is very cool. That's very cool indeed. Shall we pull another card? Let's try this one on the end. Another vertical card. Isn't that funny? This card is called Himself. Put this one back and put this one over here. Well, that works out really well. Very well indeed. Now Himself, and I forget the card number, is number 17. Himself, the natural law, life force, magic, and shamanic power. Well, now that interesting. We're talking about connecting with your fairy energy, and this is the connection between the human existence, the human species. Now, the human species is very different than those people up there, because every one of those people up there, unless they've been a human being that left on a spaceship and came back, left on a spaceship and raised their family on Alpha Centauri and came back, the difference between us and them is emotions. They lack emotions. They may have the ability of warp drive, but they lack the ability of emotions. And that is one of the things that fascinates them about us. Himself, natural law, life force, magic, and shamanic power, the connection between us and the fairy realm and Gaia. And Gaia is Mother Earth. She is all that is about Mother Earth. And then, of course, then it breaks down to fairy realm and tree spirits and different forms of nature energies. Well, let's see what else we have. So let's do this card. Another vertical card for you. You guys are on a roll. I keep thinking the maiden. Yeah, I have the maiden written. This old English, this always gets me. So this is the maiden. Put it in the stand. We're gonna look at. There you go. The maiden. Auspicious beginnings. Birth, growth, joy, and hope. Well, that's interesting. It has to do with our connection to our fairy realm. Isn't this exciting? I hope you're excited. You're going to watch this video and you're going to say, that guy is nuts. Hopefully YouTube won't ban me. We're not talking politics here. We're just talking connection between ourselves and the inner realm of Gaia through the fairy realm. Auspicious beginnings. Birth, growth, joy, and hope. Well, that is fascinating. So we have one card left. Don't we wonder what it is? Let's see. Put this card over here. Another vertical card. Now you guys saw me shuffle these things. Number 38. Last, the Moon's Daughter. A very pretty card. Very pretty indeed. Another vertical card too. Well, the fairy card, your fairy card, that could have been upside down. As a matter of fact, it was upside down. And that was only because we hadn't identified your fairy yet. But obviously, most of you have identified it, because otherwise all these other cards wouldn't be verticals. Last, the Moon's Daughter. Light cast in shadows. Spiritual guidance, illumination, and riddles. There are some fairies out there. They're called brownies. Brownies. Don't tell them I said so. They're the ones that'll hide your glasses. If you can't find things, you'll put your glasses up here and you won't find them for the entire day. You'll bend over to pick up a pencil and they'll fall off your head. You're going, I've been looking for these all day. Yeah. Brownies. And it's about focus. Because if you weren't so much out of focus and paying attention to everything else, dwelling on everything around you, not paying attention, you can pay attention to everything around you at the same time, but dwelling on things, you would have remembered that your glasses were on the top of your head. And that's what the brownies do. It's a little annoying when you can't find your car keys. People have to get these beeper thingies to find their car keys. Now, why the moon's daughter is considered mischievous? Well, you actually have to have daughters to understand that. They will never stop being mischievous for as long as the two of you are connected. Light cast in shadows. Yeah. So I'm going to pull one last card and then we're going to end this session. One last card. What do you wish to work on next? Is the energy of this card. Uranus, number 34. It's a very pretty card. Sylvanus, truth, cutting through deception and clarity. Well, that's kind of cool. Truth, cutting through deception and clarity, which is a very important thing to be working on lately, because there is such mystery going on out there in the relation to this thing that has been in our lives for the last year, because there are so many untruths about it that you have to be able to cut through the veils of mystery to determine what's really going on. And with that, I wish to close. Peace begins with enough for all. 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 And with that, the fairy speaks for you. Ya cha 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 cha.